Hi, Eilidh, how you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. Yeah, how are you been getting on this week with the homeschooling?
Yeah. I think the same as everybody else. We're taking it day at a time, but yeah, hats off to teachers. It's definitely an interesting role.
Yeah, it is that. Yeah, it's interesting. That's a good word for it. Interesting.
How are things with you?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. Yeah, surviving the snow as well, obviously. It's been an interesting week. But thank you so much for joining us. It's great
Oh,
to have you.
thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited. I was just saying, it's going to be exciting to totally geek out about marketing things.
I know, and this is my first Instagram live, so
Is it? Welcome.
thanks.
Now that you've started, there'll be no stopping you now. So,
Uh,
so let me just give Ailey a sort of quick introduction, and then I'll kind of hand over to do a proper introduction of herself, how she got started, etc. But Ailey's the managing director of Bold Street Media, which is a marketing and PR firm in Aberdeenshire in the countryside. Ailey's background is that she is really experienced in marketing and PR communications. So she's worked in-house for multinational organisations, creative agencies, both up here in Aberdeen and down south in Liverpool. She's advised clients in a range of sectors. She's looked at oil and gas, healthcare, consumer goods, and also worked on several influencing campaigns for blue chip clients as well. But I'll hand over now to Eilidh. Maybe you can give us a bit of a proper introduction from yourself and just tell us how you first came about with the idea of Bold Street Media.
yeah. Oh, that was a nice introduction. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. So my company is Bold Street Media. So as you just said, so we are a PR and marketing agency based up in Aberdeenshire. So and we've been going for, oh my goodness, this is going to be our fifth year this year, which is super exciting. But yeah, we literally everything involved with a company's brand reputation, creating it kind of from the ground upwards. Everything that goes alongside creating that reputation, maintaining it, is everything that we're involved in. So it covers quite a lot. But yeah, I got started Bold Street in 2016. And yeah, it really came about. I was um, made redundant out of the oil and gas industry downturn up here, which I'm sure many will be familiar with, and really just came to a bit of a crossroads thinking, okay, so I've kind of got 13, 14 years of PR and marketing experience. Where am I taking that now? Am I going back and try and find another job and working for somebody, or actually do I kind of take hold of what I'd always hoped I would end up doing, which was starting my own business? And yeah, just decided to go for it and actually thought, here we go, let's see how this works. Not a grand plan or strategy to it, and very much just me starting as a freelancer, and thinking, how can I use my experience from agency side and also being in-house with businesses, communications, PR, marketing. How can I use that and try and shape my own business around what I've learned and best practice and things the way I think things should be done. So yeah, that was kind of how Bold Street came about.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's quite funny because similar startup stories really with I don't obviously know that's how we kind of originally met, both kind of redundant at the same time, starting up at the same time, which is quite funny. The thing that I picked up on there is that you said that it was something that you'd always wanted to do.
Yeah, I think so. I'd had kind of 10 years down working in Liverpool, and I made the decision to move back up to Aberdeen. And it was at that point I was kind of like, right, should I do this now? I've always fancied doing it, and I love the creativity of meeting new people, coming up a working relationship with them. And it was that point in Aberdeen I was like, oh, should I do it now? And again, it was just that kind of self-doubt and, oh, let's just go and work for somebody else for now, and again kind of re-establish my connections in Aberdeen and figure out the media landscape. And there was always something going, oh, maybe just take the safer option, maybe just go with kind of working for somebody, but always having that in the back of my head that actually I want to do this my own.
Yeah, yeah, it's very, very exciting. So what was your mission at the outset then? What was the, if you always planned on doing it and doing it your way, what was your sort of outstanding mission at the start?
It was really just kind of stripping things back to basics when it comes to PR marketing. I think there's so much buzzwords around it, and it can be quite intimidating, quite overwhelming to people. And they either then go, oh, I don't know how to approach it. Or the other side of the coin is that maybe people have had a bad experience, and considering we're all about reputation and reputation management, our industry sometimes doesn't have the greatest reputation.
Yeah.
I'd really been involved with some exciting campaigns, and I could see the potential PR, marketing, communications as a whole has when it's done properly. So my kind of vision was very much actually let's just kind of strip it back, really let people in and understand the workings of it and the potential it has. And then maybe that in that way, if we're all working together, we actually can just create a bit of a better reputation for ourselves.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. No, you're right. It's true. And so many times, you come in the back of a bad experience and, you've got to pick up the pieces, haven't you? It's like, oh.
It is. There are people saying, I've done this before and it hasn't worked, or I've spent this amount of budget and actually I'm no better off for it. And so you're starting off at a bit of a, okay, so let's start.
Yeah, it's so common in a lot of industries, isn't it? It's like, obviously we know it from the sort of marketing side, but if you think of anything, I suppose it's like, if you get a bad plumber or electrician and then somebody has to come in and fix their work, I mean, it's quite common, isn't it? It's like, you get the have a go heroes going in first and yeah, sometimes you go in the back end of it and it's like, oh dear.
No, absolutely.
So would you say then that you're on track then with your mission in terms of like simplifying it all down and just making it that bit more accessible for people?
I think so. I hope so. Definitely. I think we're very much, there's not a silver bullet for these type of things, and it's very much kind of constantly monitoring, analysing, taking experiences, working them through into plans. So I think definitely we're very transparent when it comes to working with our clients and trying to tell them, bring them along with us and explaining the process that we're going on, so it's not all this kind of smoke and mirrors. So I think so. But having said that, we still find ourselves saying things and clients going, but what does that mean? Or we kind of, I think, ourselves get swept up in just assuming everybody knows, what we're talking about, even when we're trying to explain it. So we do still get people, asking questions, and you go, oh, I thought that would just be obvious.
Yeah. You get them looking at you and it's like, you've lost me.
Yeah. So I think we've still got work to do to kind of to strip that completely, but hopefully we're getting there.
It's always a moving feast though, isn't it? I mean, it really is.
No, absolutely, it definitely is.
So you talked there as well a little bit about self-doubt and taking that sort of first step in business. How did you handle sort of that initial step? That initial step's always like the sort of the one that's the hardest, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it was just, I don't know whether it was maybe not having a grand plan, something that is huge. You're just trying to take it step by step, and actually just not having huge expectations of what's ahead. Because I think when you're starting up in business, you're constantly having to reassess the situation and go between what your ideal is and actually what will allow you to get to the next step in your business. So I think maybe just not having everything set in stone allowed me to go, okay, well, I'm not going to be too hard on myself. I'm going to see how this goes. But I think, again, with that kind of in my head, it was very much speak to people and like take advice and ask questions, not pretend to know it all, because yes, I had kind of 13, 14 years of PR and marketing experience, but I was new to business. That whole running and managing a business is new. So I think just once I got over that, in terms of course, you're not going to know how to run a business. You haven't done this before. You've done the PR and marketing bit. I think then that allows you to go, okay, actually, I can do this.
Yeah, yeah. And I think as well, sometimes when you're coming from something that you did yourself as a 9 to 5 and then making that your business, a lot of the time, it's easy to feel like, oh, I can't do it. But it's like you underestimate the contacts that you've already made, that 14 years that you're in business, the contacts that you've made in both ends, from client end, but also from like providers end as well, third party people as well. It's like you underestimate it and how quickly that if you just push the button, you can be up and running and actually hitting the same revenue that you were making in your wage.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think that's a massive part of it. Like you said, just underestimating actually how much you've learned, all of that experience that's been built up and knowledge that you just take for granted on a day-to-day basis, that it's almost like autopilot for a lot of things that you understand, whether that, like you say, be contacts or just processes of ways to do things or ways to look for opportunities. I think there's definitely a good amount of, once you're pushed out of your comfort zone and it's like, come on, you need to do this, you quickly realize how much you do know.
Yeah, it is. It's always a surprising. One thing that I really sort of admire about your company is the branding, obviously. Given that that's the sort of area that you're in as well. The way that you present the company, I love the colours, I love the vibe, I love all that thing. I mean, was that something that you had right from the get-go, or was that something that developed over time?
Yeah, so I always had a good understanding, like an idea of what I wanted from Bold Street. I really wanted it to be vibrant and have an element of fun to it. And I think we're so lucky in our industry and what we do, in that it is all about creativity. And so we can, that pulling that across into the branding, we've got that luxury, if you like, of incorporating that, where there are obviously other industries where you don't have that luxury. So I knew that, yeah, I definitely wanted that as part of the brand, but it's definitely been an evolution. So I think we're on brand 3, our visual brand 3. And that's, we're not even, 5 years in yet. So it's quite a lot, but the one we've got at the minute, we've had for 18 months or so now. And so it's the one, yeah, definitely when we struck on it with the creative agency that we used for creating it with us, it was definitely, yeah, this is what I wanted. I wanted to incorporate elements of street art into the overall brand kind of look and feel, because it came from Bold Street Media, is named after an actual street, Bold Street in Liverpool, where I first started my career, and that street has a lot of street art and a lot of creativity attached to it. So working that idea through with the creative agency, Form Digital, that created it for us, that was really important, and it was definitely part of how I could see it developing. But yeah, it took a while to get there with a few different iterations.
Sometimes it does take time though, and I think it's almost like sometimes you can stand at the start line and be like, do you know, I'm not going to push the button on this until that's perfect, and that's perfect. But actually, it's like you're holding yourself back, because sometimes things like branding, it evolves, tone of voice, it evolves. Even like your services, your offers, if you particularly want to niche into something, all of these things evolve. Only when you go out there, you try it and see what you think, or how well it was received, isn't it? It's like you've got to make that first step.
Yeah, definitely. And I do think it is, like I say, it's just learning and kind of getting into the feel of your own brand, and seeing even how things work when they're applied to different collateral and different avenues. We've done a few little pieces of sponsorship, and it was, how does the logo work when we're pulling it across into different opportunities and adapting it, and yeah, and it's fun. It's like, it's the nice creative outlet of like how you get to tell your own business's story. So yeah, it's a nice part of the business.
Yeah, definitely. How would you say that social media has helped your business over the 5 years?
Yeah, I think it definitely, it's great, obviously, because it's so instant and you can get stuff out there and you can be having that conversation with your audience straight away. I think definitely, I mean, we're still building on it. We still, we use Zana Creative. We use them as our social media support partner, and they're great, and they help us kind of, again, develop ideas so we can think, okay, we need to tell this story, we want to engage with our audience in this way, and how do we do that? So it's definitely been important, but it's also, it's nice, it's interesting to see the different times that people engage with you in terms of just over the years, you know, or the different things that have worked well and used to work well, don't work well now, things that are now available to us to use that weren't when we first started in terms of social media. So yeah, I would say it's really important.
Yeah, yeah, that's certainly. I mean, like, what are your sort of favorite platforms or favorite executions that you've used over the years?
So it's interesting. So we definitely, I really like Instagram. It's, you know, it's so creative. But I do find with Instagram we get a lot of it's a lot of our own industry people, which is interesting, you know, kind of sharing ideas or collaborations or best practice tips, that kind of thing, which is nice. And, you know, just to see that whole creative industry, what work people are doing. But then we get a really nice amount of conversation over on LinkedIn as well, which it seems to be businesses from other industries that come across us. And the LinkedIn conversation, definitely, I would say, especially over this last kind of 10 months or so, seems to have softened a bit more conversation, and which has been interesting to watch that kind of unfold. So I definitely think we seem to spend our most time on Instagram and on LinkedIn as a business.
Yeah, it has, like you say, it has been interesting. LinkedIn's one of my like, because I just don't like the overly stuffy professional, like, you know, corporate vibe over there.
Yeah.
But it has, like you say, it's really changed over lockdown as, you know, people who would normally be suited and booted going to work are working from home in their jammies, and, you know, it's really sort of like taking the edge off it and like soften the corners a little bit, which is, it's nice, it's refreshing.
It is. It's really, I think it, and we're always about, you know, if you're interacting with businesses, remember they're people, they're humans. So like, yeah, they're a business, but they're also just a person. And I think we're seeing a bit more of that on LinkedIn, you know, businesses just acting like people. So I think that's a positive.
Yeah.
But Instagram, I don't think we're ever gonna have a better platform to be able to really see the creativity. So even as a team at Bold Street, we're often, you know, sharing different campaigns, you know, not ones that we've worked on, but others, you know, in our industry. And have you seen this campaign? Isn't this amazing? Doesn't this work really well? Isn't this interesting? So I don't think we get a better platform than Instagram for that.
It's funny how Instagram's got like all the executions, you know, how it's like, okay, it's got live, it's got stories, you know, they've basically just ripped off TikTok with reels. It's like, you know, it's got everything. And then you see LinkedIn's obviously just added stories recently as well. And it's funny how Instagram's got, you know, covering all their bases. It's like soon as there's a new thing, I can't wait to see how they rip off Clubhouse.
I know. My goodness, I know there seems to be something new all the time. It's hard to follow.
Have you been on Clubhouse yet yourself?
No, I have to admit, I'm not even pretending I kind of understand what's going on there. I just see people posting about it or saying I'm doing it for the first time, and yeah, have you?
I've been, yeah, and I'm not an iPhone person. I'm Samsung through and through, and I had to buy an iPhone just to do it. And
I love that.
I know, gosh, like really. Oh. You know when you're like specific to a brand and you have to go
Yeah.
and buy something else, it's like, oh, new tech. Which is funny because everyone's Apple, right? Apart from me. But yeah, no, it's quite interesting. And because you were mentioning LinkedIn there, I think actually you'll quite like it. Would be a good platform actually for yourselves.
Oh well, I will have to have a proper.
Yeah, worth digging in.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
So if you went right back to the start of starting your business up again, is there anything that you would do differently?
You know, I was trying to think, and I think the main thing for me is that whole, I hear people talking about it a lot, is knowing your value. I think, and I think it's inevitable at the very start, you know, when you're starting out, whether it's as a business, as, you know, just a freelancer on your own, I think it's, again, part of that self-doubt, and it's just underpricing yourself, undervaluing yourself. which again, I think it's inevitable, but I think looking back now, you go, those kind of decisions, but I think that's part and parcel of just the business side of things, and just knowing what to do. So I think just that, just, you know, having a little bit more belief in yourself, having a bit more confidence, yeah, that you know when you're adding value to somebody's business and what that return is going to be for them. So actually, you know, be confident in asking for what you should get from that.
Yeah, it's a common thing that comes up when people start business, isn't it? Is pricing. It's, you know, it doesn't matter what industry or niche that you're in, pricing is always a thing. I think everybody always naturally underprices themselves because they're terrified. Like, what if nobody buys? So, you know, better charge something. But I mean, you can always tweak your pricing as you go. It's probably easier to increase your prices than it is to decrease them. So,
Yeah. So I think definitely that. I think as well, just even, I hope I was quite good at the start in terms of, you know, surrounding yourself with good people. But I think just even more so, just asking even more questions. So, you know, if you have one question that you ask somebody who's been in business for a while, and ask more, like, don't ever be afraid. I think looking back, don't ever be afraid just to be at the table, but saying, you know, ask another question and ask for more information about how people have got to where they've been before. You know, only a new start business once, so make the most of that in terms of asking questions.
yeah, definitely. And people that have been in business for a while or have been successful and grown to a certain size, they kind of love to tell the story, don't they? Because we seem to think that nobody ever asks, you know, so
I
they
know.
love the opportunity to talk about it and I certainly love to like share experiences of things that's worked. You know, it's like if I can help someone else achieve their dream, it's like win-win.
Yeah, exactly. I know, definitely. So yeah, I think that as well. Ask more questions at the start.
Yeah, definitely. At what point in your business journey did you actually think, oh my God, this is actually working for me?
Do you know, I think it was about 2 years in, and I had probably for about 6 months prior to that, I had been toying with the idea of taking on my first member of staff. But again, that was quite a big step, taking that first member of staff in and that responsibility. But yeah, about 2 years in, it got to the point where it was more than a tipping point, and it was actually, oh my goodness, I'm busy. This is busy, and this has grown quicker than I expected it to, which is amazing and so great. But yeah, it was that point where I was like, I need to take on my first member of staff. So yeah, 2 years.
Yeah, that's scary, isn't it? Like employing someone, then
I,
being responsible for them. It's like that's at the point where I decided to like walk away. That's when I was like, you know what? I don't want it. I'll
it,
do this now.
I know. I think there's always that focus on how exciting that is. You know, oh my goodness, I get to have a team, or I have to a member of staff, and the exciting. But it's. I think if most business owners were truthful, they would say it's terrifying at that point. Yeah,
It is, isn't it? And it's just like, yeah. I mean, the thing that scared me about hiring a member of staff is just being like responsible for their income. And you know, it's all right when it's your business and it's your salary. If you have a quiet month, you know, it's not that you would turn around and say, I can't pay you this month, but it's that sort of like, oh, I'm now responsible. It's like the added pressure, really, isn't it?
yeah, it is. I think especially if you get the right team members as well, and they become so invested in your business, and they're so passionate about their own career as well. It's that responsibility of making sure that you're helping them do what they want to do, making sure that they're being developed, and you help them continue with that passion and that spark that they have for the area that you're working in. So I think there's definitely pressure there, lots of responsibility.
Oh yeah, it's like being a mum
Yeah,
twice, right? It's like,
it's like a second family. We'll make sure everyone's all right.
oh no. What was the first thing that you outsourced in your business?
Oh my goodness. Um, Oh,
But accounts, I hate accounts,
yeah,
isn't that?
yeah. I think, do you know, my auntie is an accountant, and so one of the first things when I set up my business, she was like, "Get a good accountant," and it wasn't her. She was too expensive. So it wasn't her, but yeah, definitely I would say an accountant. Um, and I actually, when I hired my first member of staff, I outsourced HR, or that whole recruitment piece, in terms of the like interviewing or helping me interview somebody. And I was like, I'm quite a control freak when it comes to that kind of stuff. And I was like, I want to make sure I'm getting this right. I don't want to be kind of bluffing my way through stuff that I don't know anything about. So yeah, I think my accountant and an HR consultant.
Yeah, you're right. I suppose like contracts and all that sort of like scary stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, you want to make sure that you get that right. You don't want to muck that up.
No, absolutely. So yeah, I think that was the first ones. Yeah.
Oh gosh. So if you had one piece of advice for someone who was just at the beginning of their journey and maybe they're waiting to take that first step, or maybe they're like can't quite decide, every morning they've got a different decision as to whether they're going to take it or not, what kind of advice would you give that person?
I think I say, take your time, think it through properly. Think, do you have the time, the resource, everything to put your all into this? Because for the first, oh my goodness, at least year, you're doing a lot of giving with not much take back. So I think it's, take your time, really consider it. Do you have that ability to just plow everything into it and do it? Because it's going to take effort, and it's going to either, you know, I don't think I speak to many business owners who say that it all fell in their lap for them. So you need to be realistic from the start that you're going to have to try really hard and put your all into it. And I think if you do, and you've got that passion, and you think, yeah, I'm going to go for it, I think then just do it. If you spend too long thinking about it, I think as long as you can assess the situation and think there's a need for what I'm doing, I know how to do it, and I've got the will, and I'm being realistic about how much work's going to go into this, then just do it. I think just don't spend too long after that thinking. Get on and do it.
Yeah, you can almost talk yourself out of it, can't you?
Yeah, but I think we need more business owners to kind of be quite realistic in terms of saying, I don't think there is an overnight success in any business.
Yeah, yeah,
There's a lot that, even if people aren't telling you about it, there's a lot going on behind the scenes
yeah.
to get there. And so it's you need to be prepared for it not to work overnight.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the thing, it's so easy to look from the outside in at anyone's business and think, oh, that just happened overnight, that just popped up and happened overnight. And it's like you've got no idea how long that person's maybe plugging away till 3 in the morning for before they actually, went out there with it.
Yeah, and
So,
you hear about all the successes, you hear about all the contract wins or building a team, but you don't necessarily hear about, how many proposals that you did that just didn't get over the line in the first little while of doing your business, or how many times you had to change your branding, or all those kind of things. So
the proposals, honestly, see when it's just you, the proposals take up so much time, and it's crazy because it's like people think, oh, I'll just ask. And thinking that it doesn't, it's like, you do know it's like as a one person business, that's taken like an hour out my day or half an hour out my day. If you've got no intention of going ahead with it, it's like, don't even ask for the price because it's
exactly. Yeah, 100%. It's a lot of work. So yeah, I think definitely, yeah, be prepared for the hard work. But also I think just make sure you've got good people around you when you start your business. Definitely get that, even if it's a small group, people that you can really go to and bounce ideas off of, and know that you're asking them in confidence.
yeah,
And they're going to give you a real answer as well. They're not going to just give you the one that they think they should tell you. So yeah, good people around.
yeah, definitely. What businesses do you look up to in terms of like inspiration?
Oh my goodness. Wow.
On the spot.
Oh god, yeah, I'm trying to think. So in terms of for our own industry, I'm always really intrigued as to what other PR agencies are doing in other countries. So I like looking at, so if you like, there's PR week and they talk about different international agencies. So there's ones in Scandinavia who are doing amazing campaigns that are really stripped back. But equally, there's ones in London that have really niched down, and they're really, really specific in terms of we only do, it's not the whole PR piece, it's like one tiny bit of it. And I think that's quite brave for them to do, but it's fascinating, and I think that's really inspirational to show that people are really niching down. But yeah, I love all looking at different brands as well in terms of how they're changing and adapting. And we just did a post on our Instagram the other day that was looking at some of the Super Bowl ads from last weekend, and I think it's interesting watching, or inspirational as well, watching some of the brands who have been quite traditional in the past, and they're even having to really kind of step it up at the minute and work harder to attract an audience at the minute, which is difficult to do. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know if that answers your question. It's quite we take inspiration from our industry, but just brands in general.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Right, we've got some like quick fire questions just now, and then we'll get into the questions that people have sent in. If anyone's watching and they want to ask Eilidh a question, pop it in the comments as well, and I'll get to them at the end of the ones that have already been sent in. So quick fire round. So what's your favourite social media platform?
Instagram.
Video or podcast?
Oh, I'll have to say podcast because I have a podcast, the brand sessions. So I'll have to say podcast.
Yeah. live or pre-recorded?
Do you know, I quite like live. This is the first one I've done, but at least you just, it's done, isn't it?
Yeah. But I pre-recorded a video this morning, and the video's 18 minutes long, but it probably took me about 2 hours to film it because I kept refilming, and that's the danger. With pre-recorded stuff.
Yeah.
Deadly. Filter or no filter?
I have been prone to using a filter in the past, but I'm trying not to now because, oh God, I just think we're all nobody's looking their best at the minute, are they? Let's face it. So yeah, I'm going for the no filters.
Try and do that. Daily posting or ad hoc?
Oh, I'm ad hoc.
Yeah.
I wish I was saying I'm ad hoc.
Yeah, no, I mean, I quality over quantity, really, let's face it. DIY or outsource it?
Depends. In business, outsource it. Get it right. If there's somebody that specializes in it, it's a real craft and a real talent, get them to do it.
Yeah, definitely. TikToks or Reels?
TikTok. Although I don't have a TikTok account, I am one of those that gets pulled right down that rabbit hole of TikTok dances, and I could sit and watch it for hours.
What's on your TikTok just now? Mine's is cats and Harry Styles. What's yours?
Yes, I saw your reposts about it. I think Harry Styles ones is ace. Who else? Oh, right back at the start of lockdown, Jessica Alba, who's the actress. I don't know if you remember her.
Yes. Her
posting with her daughters, and her daughters were smashing all the dance routines, and her trying to keep up. And I was like, I love that. That's a mum who wants to be cool, but nah.
And then what's your favourite binge shows for like Netflix, Amazon Prime, that sort of stuff?
Oh, do you know, I hate admitting this, but again, lockdown, my binge-worthy box set was Selling Sunset.
Yes, is that the real estate thing?
Real estate one. I honestly, I could just watch it. Love it. Imagining I'm in the sun in a big house. I was there more for the houses than the drama that was going on around it. But Selling Sunset or Bridgerton. Recently.
Yes, loving that one. Did you do the Tiger King in lockdown 1?
I didn't, but my husband did. I was trying to stay away from it, but that feels like so long ago now, though, doesn't it?
I know. It was the most random thing ever.
Yeah, but no, I don't know how we would have all got through the last 10 months without Netflix.
I know, it's good. Right, on to, I'm just checking for questions and things. So on to the questions that were sent in. So someone's asked, when's the next series of the brand sessions coming?
Oh, we are currently recording season 3 right now. We're recording our next episode tomorrow morning, so we should have this season wrapped and ready to be out live beginning of March.
Yeah. So you film them all then before you even start putting them out?
We try and get about halfway through a season before we go live with them, just to make sure we've got a good amount of content and we're leaving enough time for editing and everything else. So yeah, fingers crossed, beginning of March, and we've got some really exciting guests, so we're excited.
Do we get any sneak peeks? Can you tell us?
We have one that's coming up, which is if you're a big Instagrammer, a wine brand that launched during lockdown and have been all over Instagram with a lot of influencers. So we have them. I won't name it, but you will know who they are.
Yeah. Excellent. We'll have to listen to that one then. How long would you say that it took you to get from saying yes to every client to just saying yes to the ones that you knew were right?
I would say probably about 2 years. I think, you always have your ideal of either who you want to work with or where your experience, your past experience sits best. But I think in the beginning you have to be a realistic.
Oh, your sound.
Sorry, I think that was a call trying to come in there.
Ah, no worries.
So yeah, I think in the start you have this ideal of who you want to work with and why you want to work with them, but in practical terms, you also have to run a business, and obviously be building that business, and also you never know where, even if you don't think it might be an ideal client, you don't know where that's going to take you. So I think it was about 2 years. Again, I think it's really important, as well as having those clients on board. You want to work with the right people, because you need them to be invested in what you're doing and have time for it, and really understand it and listen to the guidance you're trying to give them. So as much as you need the clients, you also kind of at some stage need to kind of not be picky, but be able to weed out who's ready, who's in the right place to have your support. But again, I think it was probably about 2 years until we got.
Would you say you've got a good radar now then of who's yep and who's nope?
Yeah, and I think the way that we approach things, this whole kind of transparent, and we genuinely just trying to be human with people. So we're quite comfortable saying to businesses, if they approach us, if we don't think that they either it's the right stage of their business for us, or if we don't think they've got either enough time or budget to do what they're asking us to do, then we're very honest with them and are quite comfortable saying, realistically, what you're asking doesn't match with where you are at the minute. And I think hopefully by being that way, that when they are in the right place, then they'll come back to us and they'll appreciate it, rather than just kind of going, yeah, okay, in you come, and not doing the best job for them and it's their time and their money as well. So I think we've got better at that, at being very just quite to the point with people.
Yeah. Someone's asked, have you ever been undercut for a campaign and then campaign's not gone very well?
Ooh, we have definitely lost out to work. I don't know whether it's been because we've been undercut financially, or whether I don't know, we've been more realistic in terms of outputs. And it's always interesting to see when you see the campaign turn up. Not necessarily that it hasn't gone well, but there's certainly, you can always go, I wouldn't have done that, or I maybe would have tried this. So yeah, it's a difficult one. I always kind of try and look at it, you're never going to be right for everybody. So
Yes, definitely, definitely. What's been your most favourite campaign that you've done?
my goodness.
Another on the spot one.
I worked way back at the start of, well, this wasn't a Bold Street campaign, so I can think of a Bold Street one, but right at the start of my campaign, or my career, sorry, I worked on a Kellogg's campaign, and it was the release of a new cereal, and it was all geared around students as opposed to kids. So it was students, and I remember us doing a pitch it was when Chris Moyles was doing the Radio 1 breakfast show and delivering him these boxes of Kellogg's cereal as part of a student push. So that was really fun, and it was just, again, it was around the time when radio was a big part of PR campaigns, you know, less so now, or for a lot of things we're working on, but it was when the radio space was really interesting, pre-influencers, oh my god, I sound old now, social media, when that kind of chatter was like the likes of Chris Moyles. So that was an interesting campaign to work on. One we did with Bold Street, which was such an amazing campaign to work on, was we supported the DSide Food Festival, so a local food produce, local businesses festival. We supported them for 2 years, kind of back to back. And that was so lovely to work on, because you got to see such a range of different businesses, ones that it was just their side hustle, ones that it was, you know, they've been in a family business for years and years, and hearing, as well as the festival as a whole, also kind of getting to dig into these different businesses that were part of the festival and finding out about their stories. And if they were part of the festival, it was almost like we were giving them almost a bit of PR for free, because they were part of the festival. So that was a really nice one to be involved in.
Yeah, well, it sounds it. And then someone said, what quick win PR tips can you give me if I'm just starting out in business and can't afford to outsource PR?
Okay, so I think the biggest thing you can do with PR, if you want to get it right, is don't underestimate how much research you want to do into your audience. So don't assume you have to do everything and you're going to have to spread yourself really thinly. So if you're just starting out, really focusing on your audience, figure out, you know, where do they get their news from and what is it that they're interested in that you provide, and then really hone in on that and just do one thing. So if they're on social, then really just dedicate your time to social media and getting that out there. If it is that they're going to a certain publication for their news, then look at that one publication and almost stalk that publication, find out who the journalists are, and really just try and build a relationship with them. So really get to grips with your audience. If you get that right, the PR piece is a lot easier, and it should be very intuitive what you should be placing content wise.
Yeah, perfect. Oh, thank you so much for that. That was the last one. Shona's saying she can't wait for the podcast she's talking about, because she loved series 1 and 2.
Oh, thank you, Shona.
So that'll be the times. When did you say that was going to be dropping again?
Beginning of March. So if you want to follow, sorry, I'm going to quick plug here. If you want to follow the brand sessions, we're on Instagram, and we will, as soon as we have a set date for episode 1, we'll be posting on there, but it should be beginning of March.
Has it got its own Instagram account?
So it's just at the brand sessions.
Excellent, perfect. Yeah, well, of course we expect to plug. I mean, we wouldn't expect any less from a PR professional. If you didn't do it, I mean,
I know my podcast co-host Megan would be sitting there going, "Oh my God, what is she doing? Say the name! Say the name!"
Yes, you got it. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Eilidh, and for joining us. It was great fun to have you.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been fab chatting and catching up.
Excellent. Well, I'll let you get back to your day. Oh, is that a creative? Is that Megan?
Yeah, that's Megan.
Yeah. It's like I was. Bless her. All righty, well, take care, and I'll speak to you again soon.
Thanks. See you soon.
See you
Bye.
later. Bye.